between three distinguished gentlemen, locally known, especially around the Hamilton area. Couldn't miss them if you walked by them. Welcome to Three Minds Think Alike.
And we are back, episode 7. Keep on counting. I'm Spencer Grenier, joined by Kyle Chambers and the Max Hatter. And once again, thank you, the listener, for always tuning in every week and giving us feedback, which have been super positive and motivating us to try new things and continuing to excel with our podcasting skills. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit like and subscribe for more content in the upcoming weeks. Well, you know what time it is, boys. I got my cup of joe and off we go. Let's dive in. Waking up in the morning always kicks off another day. Whether if it's going to work, attending class, or just a day off, there is something that we need. Typically, you would think breakfast. Yes, that's important, but also another key element to add to your delicious morning meal, a cup of coffee. That fresh brew is always a dopamine rush, especially while reading the morning newspaper. Are folks still doing that in 2025? Watching the latest highlights on SportsCenter, I know Kyle does, or even scrolling through Instagram and happen to come across a thirst trap. Boys, let's cheers to acknowledging greatness right in front of our screens. Caffeine can help kickstart the day's festivities, but too much intake could lead to symptoms that the body isn't used to. It's important to place limits on our caffeine intake. So boys, I have to ask, do you feel that we need to have caffeine to kickstart our day? Max, we'll start off with you.
Well, I don't. I drink herbal tea, which has no caffeine in it. So, and I don't eat breakfast either, so I'm totally fine in the mornings. I can just get up and go. But I know a lot of people need to have something to wake up with when they wake up. Like, wouldn't have all those people going, "Don't talk to me until I have my morning cup of coffee" shirts and stuff like that.
I think it can, if you're someone who has it a lot, it can be important and it can be something that you use and that you thrive on. There is some advantages to it. So for example, it can help you stay more focused or dialed in. It can help you stay awake. And there are advantages to using supplements when working out as well. But some of the drawbacks can include a depressed mood when not having it. You have withdrawal symptoms, not being able to, having a lot of dehydration. Caffeine causes a lot of dehydration, and overall just not being yourself because you don't have the caffeine. And with people with different bone things like cerebral palsy or different studies I've seen that it can actually cause stiffness in the bones as well, too much caffeine. And those are all unofficial, but according to the Mayo Clinic, there is some advantages to it, like being able to stay awake, stay more focused, but there is withdrawal symptoms like being dehydrated and your mood going down because you're having too much caffeine.
Yes. And Kyle, actually, I do have something to add on to that to ask you that you're right. It just depends on the intake, but also the supplements and the drinks that we use, because you have to separate natural caffeine with natural caffeine. For example, I do have a list here, like B vitamins.
You said that wrong. You said natural and natural.
Did I? I'm sorry. Yeah. Processed versus natural. And the list I have here is you got B vitamins, tea, dark chocolate, nuts and berries, even maca root powder. Do you feel that, yeah, it's nice to have a little boost in the process, but how important is it to try to get natural caffeine as much as possible?
Well, if you obviously not anything natural is going to be more, it's going to be better for your body than things that are unnatural. And we're not doctors or scientists here, but obviously things that naturally, even sugar from the garden, natural sugar from strawberries or other plants is going to be better for you than going up and getting sherbet or some other candy from the corner store and doing that. So same thing with caffeine. If you look at caffeine, I'm not going to name a brand, but a certain energy drink might give you that rush that you're looking for, but it isn't natural. It's not meant to really be in your body. It just gives you that rush where something natural will stay in your body longer and it'll be better for you in the long run. And also caffeine can help with digestion. So if you're having digestion problems, having a cup of coffee in the morning can help with that as well.
It helps you take a number two. Yeah. So with having too much of it, what can we do to decrease our intake of caffeine?
Drink less coffee. Like epidemiologists say, less than about two larges is perfect for caffeine intake. So you could just stick to that, I guess. Not by like caffeine supplements or I know there was this thing called like this candy that was like infused with caffeine and it was targeted to gamers. And there was like a bunch of energy specific drinks that it's like not necessarily energy drinks, but they had tons of caffeine in them anyway. And they were also like targeted at gamers who probably don't need all that energy.
They gotta stay awake for staying up for 48 hours to get the missions done, whatever the case is.
Yeah, you don't need to do that 48-hour mission session on whatever game you like.
Yeah.
You
Because
can
I've
break
last
up in 2 days or 5 days, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, let's be honest. You can save a game. There's a thing still called memory cards to save your data so that you can make sure get a good 8 hours sleep and then continue on with your quest on whatever video game you're playing.
I did some research, and there is the average healthy adult is only supposed to have around 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. That's roughly 4 small cups of coffee. But it really depends on how healthy the adult is. And similar to alcohol, everyone's going to react to caffeine differently, so it could be more or less. But that's the recommended dosage of caffeine that the average adult is supposed to have per day.
I thought it was 6 smalls. Or
Well, what I do know is I might be at that limit, especially during Mohawk College, where I started drinking coffee when I remember it vividly when Kyle, I think you and I we were studying for Shona's news test, her final exam, and I decided just to grab a coffee from Tim Hortons, and I'm like, oh, this is nice, and it just skyrocketed from there. Once you're hooked, you're hooked.
well, people say coffee is probably what got the Renaissance going because we changed our drug of choice to caffeine from alcohol. So
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when it comes to caffeine, they say it's a drug. Do you guys feel that is it necessarily a drug? Is it technically a drug or what where you
it's
got
technically a drug. Like
It is ten. It is
a lot.
technically a. Go ahead, Max.
Go. Oh, thanks. Well, caffeine is sure. A lot of people don't see it as a drug because we've had it for so long, but it does alter your uh, bodily functions, and
Mhm.
it does give you like things that normally you wouldn't have if you're just drinking water.
Right.
So you can say it alters you slightly, so it counts as a drug, and it's also considered a stimulant,
Hmm.
which is a category of drug.
That's true. But yeah, and I know we touched upon it earlier that with energy drinks, do you guys feel that they should be available because sometimes it is dangerous to have too much energy drink intake?
Well, it's not just the question of them being available and obviously having the warning labels on them for children, but it's the amount of caffeine you're putting into these energy drinks. These energy drinks that have too much caffeine, like the certain energy drink brands you see at the corner store, that's too much caffeine and that can really alter your brain, alter the way that you do things. So, for example, I knew somebody that I knew through different ventures, and he would have a monster, I think, all the time. He'd have it at the place he was at. He would just be sitting there with a energy drink constantly because he was so addicted to the caffeine that he always looked tired because of how much caffeine he was drinking. So I think you really have to monitor how much, like how many coffees you're having per day, how many energy drinks you're having per day. Similar to other drugs, you just have to make sure that you're not having it so much that it's changing the way you go about your day or changing the way you go about your overall business. And caffeine, I think too much caffeine could be detrimental to your health.
Well, that's the thing. Even when I was in high school, I had a buddy of mine, and he would show up to class first period. and you would have the big Monster Energy drinks, but then you would have a bag of Skittles and Starburst. I don't know how he did it every single day.
Well, if you have like 3 or 4 energy drinks in one sitting, you're at risk of having your heart explode on you.
Oh yeah, because
Like,
it's a
no,
rapid,
literally.
yeah, because it's a rapid fast beat.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause, like, to use this great analogy, like, for your body is the car, and your heart is the engine, and basically you have this nitrous oxide for your boost, and usually cars only have 2 or 3 of those before they shouldn't have any more, because if they have any more, their engine catches fire and it explodes.
That's right.
And if that's your heart and you just put in all that stuff, your heart explodes and you die.
Yeah, that's it. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's crazy to believe. But here's the thing, guys. There's a lot of kids that have easy access to these energy drinks. And then that does play a part later down the road if they continue to intake a lot of those drinks. So when it comes to safety of younger kids, maybe in beginning of their teenage stage, what can we do to prevent them from intaking so much of the Monsters, the Red Bulls, all the energy drinks, even coffee for that matter, because their bodies don't really need it?
Well, to continue to educate on how energy drinks and these kind of supplements can change the way your health is down the road, and making them less marketed towards kids. I know that certain drinks and certain toys aren't supposed to be marketed towards kids, it's towards the parents. That's why some companies get away with it. But just making sure that they have other things that they can eat or use instead of those, and obviously the most safest way possible. But saying these aren't as good for you as the companies want you to believe or as you think they are. So making sure that you're reading the label. The companies are doing a great job of putting the labels on the cans and doing all the little things you need to do to make sure they're safe. But the kids need to be more educated and make it seem, if you're a parent or an educator, make it seem not cool, right? I guess that's the biggest thing, right? If it's not cool, then that's just my opinion. I'm not a professional, but that's just my opinion based on
Yeah.
what I've seen.
But the thing is, but still though, Kyle, it's you can just grab it right off of a shelf at a convenience store.
Even having a an age limit on them. So for example, I know alcohol in Ontario it's 19, in Quebec it's 18. Regardless of where you're watching, there's a limit, an age limit on alcohol, or at least I know in Europe they actually have it where you only can only drink with parents, with adults around you in certain situations. So maybe it's the energy drinks, like not like general caffeine. Maybe it is general caffeine, but maybe there's certain drinks that are qualified as caffeine drinks, caffeine enhancing drinks, and then maybe that's where an age limit of 15, 16, 17 comes into play, where they're not as their kids can't get them as easily, and there might be a limit on how many someone can buy from a store, because you can't just go down to a brewery and just buy. Well, yes, you could to go, but you can't just chug 15 beers at a bar and think you're gonna be okay. Even if you sound okay and you act okay, there's a limit on that. So it might be something where A, it might be an age limit, and B, you might not only be able to get so many caffeine drinks from one establishment per day.
But a 15-year-old shouldn't even. I feel that they shouldn't have caffeine though, because that's just too. Because they're already hyper and full of energy as it is, and to add an additional unnecessary amount of caffeine on the 15-year-old, like yeah, that kid's gonna burn right out.
Yeah, it's actually not good for a developing body, because it actually does like mess with certain development stages. So you could actually give yourself an issue that you shouldn't have because you decided to drink way too much caffeine when you were 10.
Exactly. Just because I saw it on the commercial, I'm gonna go drink it now.
Yeah, like I know my parents, like they stayed away from having caffeine drinks for my sister and I until we were like well, I was like 14 and she was like 12. But then it was like it's a root beer, like 2 root beers once a week, or 2 cans of root beer once a week, so it wasn't too bad.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I feel that pop's a little bit different. Like pop is okay. Like, yeah, like when I was,
Yeah, it's got about as much caffeine as cup coffee, but it's
yeah.
still like you kind of want to stay away from it when you're really young because of all the developmental issues it can cause.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Like, especially weight gain with the sugar.
I've seen a study as well that with caffeine it actually can interact with certain medications like ADHD medications and things where you need medication that affects your brain. So especially for somebody who's young and is developing and needs that development, it can be huge that way as well.
Yeah. Because that's kind of, it's, Kyle does make a point. You have to make sure not to mix with it because you never know.
Yeah, some medications will actually interact with each other, and some substances like caffeine or alcohol could interact with any medications as well. So be careful.
I do have one last question for you guys. And out of all the caffeinated drinks that you've had, what was the best caffeinated drink you intaked?
Well, it's got the dumbest name ever. Yeah, it's called the Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000. That was the one I had that tasted great, but it was like way too much caffeine that I just talked about.
Where the hell did you find something that has a name like that?
uh, gamersubs.com. But they
Really?
also have a decaf version, which I like a lot better because it tastes great and there's no weird side effects.
Yeah, for me, Spence, two cream, two sugar coffee from the coffee shops in the area. I'm a big fan of those. I'm a simple guy when it comes to my favorite caffeinated drinks.
But yeah, the best one I've had so far, it was it was at the Learning of Excellence event at Mohawk a couple years ago, and I forgot what hall it was at. But the server brought out coffee because they were passing out dessert. And guys, this was the best coffee I've had. I can't describe the taste, but it was black, nothing added to it. You didn't even need to. And I've always wanted to know what coffee is that. And it's so good that I highly doubt it's even available on Amazon. I hope that one day I'll come across the brand name of that coffee. Well, guys, great episode. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you guys so much and more memories to come.
Well, no problem.